Okay. Oh, am I? I hope I'm. Oh, look at where I am. The This is a LLCR exercise, and it's a long one. And this is the introduction to it. Hope you take a class maybe one day. That's my advertising. That's enough advertising today. Don't feel like it. Now, this LLCR series, if you if you go to the website, will be here in one of the exercises. There are a whole ton of different exercises. Okay, it'll be down here, and I'll put a little thing that the exercise in this video will be down here. If you're watching the video, obviously, you get that. And if you get the Google Drive, you would go to the courses, and you go to the models, you go to the project finance models, and then you go to the one that says project finance exercises, and you'll find the exercise. Okay, that's just a little introduction, and then I'm going on into the videos. The videos will explain how to compute a forward DSCR, LLCR, which is a painful calculation, and I probably never spent enough effort on it before. Okay, bye. Okay. You know what I should have really done with the prior videos? Have a little further discussion of why you want to compute the LLCR. Go to the first. Uh-oh. Why? We changed the interest rates. This really sucks. Okay, finally, I changed the debt tenors. I don't know. I think I didn't use the right length of the debt, but whatever. We want to find, if we could compute the LLCR, we could use our very famous formula. I hope this formula I've been emphasizing, but I haven't. Percent reduction to break even is DSCR minus 1 divided by DSCR. Now we can also use LLCR minus 1 divided by LLCR. That gives you the break even in order so that the funds can produce the cash flow, rather, can pay off all the debt by the end of the life, and you don't really care about the pattern of the funds and everything else. So, you know, if we put, come on, the EBITDA growth, oh, there's something funny about this. I've got to check the EBITDA growth, actually. But we can check this with different growth rates, and then you're going to get a different pattern over time. And the key thing about the LLCR to understand is really that it assumes that all of the cash flow is essentially swept. So if there's a leakage in cash flow, the LLCR would not give you exactly the right break-even point. We've got to be a little bit careful with that. And the real danger is that you have really good cash flows and you fall off a cliff. That's why you want a sweep. Sometimes, I'm not arguing for a sweep, don't worry. But the LLCR should be interpreted a little more carefully, perhaps than the DSCR. Okay? Now, when we went through this LLCR, we came to a blocking point, and here was the blocking point. We wanted to compute the IRR, the prospective IRR on the debt. When we did that, we could use the discount rate as the appropriate discount rate for both cash flows and debt service. Debt service we don't need because the NPV of the debt service is the NPV of the cash debt service is the rather than the opening balance of the debt. So we need that same discount rate, and we need to be consistent with that discount rate in order to compute the present value of the cash flow for the LLCR. Now, the problem is we couldn't just take a simple line item. We needed to take a line item here and here and to fudge around with the DSCR IRR to make that calculation is tricky. So we're going to make a function that goes backwards one. We're going to have to read in both the opening balance and the cash flow, and then just produce this IRR down here. We can call this something like the forward IRR calculation. Let's make it a FIRR. Let's be really fancy with our formula. Okay, and once we have this discount rate going forward over here, then we can use that same discount rate for the NPV calculation. Blah, 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 blah. Okay? And we can use it for the PLCR calculation. So it's true, although, excuse me, for the PLCR calculation, perhaps we need a assumption going forward after the debt is finished. After that. Okay, so I'm going to pause this just for a minute. Okay, I fixed a couple things with them all when I switched the interest rates around. So if we, first of all, there's an increase in cash flow. Secondly, you can see the increasing interest rates I made more radical. So if you compare the first one to the second one, you can get a different one. And then I've got some kind of, I've got some LLCR at, this should say LLCR at COD. We can compute that. And that wasn't so hard to do if you use the sum product function. Okay? So that's almost like the very, very first one we did. Actually, it's not quite true because it didn't weight the averages really appropriately. So this is where we are. And now let's go back down and compute our IRRs. So here was the problem with the IRRs. I'm probably being completely redundant and boring. But when we take our first one, we could, if we wanted to put equal FIRR here, we'd want to go up here and then take this number and go backwards one. So we'll take, we can press Shift Control R, take this as an input, and take this very first one as an input. Now, I suppose that's the best way to do it rather than take the whole line. So let's start our macro. So I think I don't have a macro here now. Other people are better at doing this than me, but I'm just going to put function. Okay, and stop recording, and then we'll go to our macro. And I've got way too many here. I could just use this function. Oh, I've got a whole bunch of crap here. So we press edit, and we're going to make a function named FIRR. Okay, and I suppose let's make our function as we normally do. This will be equal to worksheet function, and we'll put dot IRR. Let's make sure that's there. And then we can put CF. That's our cash flow. So far, so good. We can put DIM, CF, and let's make it at least 1,000 lines as okay. We need this one. And then the CF is, I suppose we should go around for I equal 1 to 1,000 maybe. Okay. And whenever you do this, it's probably a good idea to put option base 1. And all that does is say, you know, when you have an array, it starts at number 1, not at number 0. Hates the fact that you have to do all of that all the time. But starting in period 0 often creates a mess. So then you can put CF, let's put C. If I equals 1, then CF I equal, maybe we should have started with 0 actually, equals 0 minus initial depth. Okay, so we have that one first. And then if I is greater than 1, then cash flow I, how about equals debt service I minus 1 and I plus 1. Just a minute. I think it's I don't know. Sorry about that. Next. What this does is say, okay, pretend we had minus 1,000, that's what we read, and then we read in our very first line, let's say the debt service was 100, we'd want to put this back to 1, so that would be the initial, the minus of the initial debt, but this would be the next one, and the next one is equal to the prior one. I hope this works. I'm not sure. I think this is right. And then we can do it. So now, of course, the last thing we have to do is just read in the debt service. And if we let's make this a little bit okay, more clear. Now, I'm worried about this function. I'll let you look at it for a while, and I'm going to turn it off before I test it out. Okay, for once something worked. When I put FIRR, forward IRR, and we put our, use either Shift F3 or this one, and we go up, and we first put our opening balance in, and then oops, and then we press enter, and then we put in cash flows. So that's our positive. You can see right here that it worked. Okay, and then, and then we press Shift Control R. Now, the only problem with this, and I tested this out while we were off, is the very last one. For some reason, even though we had no cash flows left, I don't know how it even tried to compute a value. And then, of course, if you have no negatives or positives, you get a value. So other than the last one, it really did work. It worked the very first time. That is, for me, not for you, but for me, a complete shock. So let's go and look at our macro again. And if we just edit, and if we just go back to our last one, the only thing we have to do is have our on arrow go to 1, and we put we'll just put a false in here, and then we'll exit the function. Okay, and so now that's just, I hope that didn't mess it up, so let's just press Shift Control R, and we still have this. I have no idea. Let me just see what happens here, because this one takes the negatives and negatives. I have no idea why that computed. Please let me just get away with that one. Now, if, oh, come on. Okay. Now, let's put this a little forward. And so if we change this to increasing interest rates, our discount rate changes over time. And now we can just use either the NPV or the some product. There's no really reason or necessity anymore. Actually, you can't use a sum product. We have to use an NPV. So now, if the constant rates are different, then we get a little bit of difference because our debt balance changes over time. And if we have increasing interest rates, it changes. If we have different tenors, they have kind of the same stuff happening, but this one's going to be a little harder because we have to compute two LCRs. I can't see when you have this different tenors, this LLCR and this LLCR are going to be different. There's just no way to have simply one computed. Okay? And then I'm saving this now as a macro-enabled workbook, and I'm going to have to come back and finish this in a minute so we can compute the LLCRs, but we've done the hard part. Excuse me, because I have to start working today to do some work. Can't just make videos all day. How sad. Okay, so here's I'm pausing now. Okay, so now I'm somewhere else again. But once we have the discount rates here, and we can compute them. We can compute the net present value of cash flows using those discount rates. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to, how about this? Let's just shift spacebar and add some lines. For some reason, when you add lines lists, I guess if you don't cut the lines out, it doesn't affect the conditional formatting. Gotta remember that, I guess. And so we have the this is the opening balance, and we have the debt cash flow. So this debt IRR, see, okay, I can't do that now. If I press X, we're going to get a, I'll push it down here, and I have no idea what's in this one, so I'm going to put it in here. Okay, those are just our messing around lines, and now let's finish this. So all we need really is the debt cash flow, and the opening debt balance, and then we get the forward IRR, and we can just use our function to compute that forward IRR, and let's only compute it when the debt balance exists. So the very last thing we're going to have to do is compute two LLCRs. One LLCR for the first tenor of the debt and the other for the second. But for right now, I was kind of lazy. I just put one debt repayment switch. So if it's that one, we'll put FIRR, tab as usual, and then we put this function here. Everything's going slowly here. I don't know. I feel like it's going slowly just because my mind is working slowly. But we'll find the initial debt. Okay. Oops. Hello. Hello. Good. Okay. So I think I left off. I was interrupted a little bit, but we computed the forward IRR, and we computed it for each period now with our function. I think what I'm going to do is, oops, I'll put I didn't use Shift F11. Okay, what happens if I press alternate F11? And let's just show you what happens here. Didn't mean to show you that. Okay, and somebody listened to my videos and said, you know, these sound incredibly boring, and my voice is too non-perky. I should have a perkier voice and get all excited. Maybe I should make a picture with a tie on and have a little video beforehand. But here's our thing. Now what I did is I changed this loop to begin at debtservice.count, and this is where we just made a little function. Okay, and so I hope that function wasn't too hard. Now the first thing, why don't we just do a test of the balance? Now of course this is like a I hope, watch it be wrong, but this is essentially, if we take an IRR of the debt service, the remaining debt service, so let's again go up to the debt switch, and I really should have put a debt switch in a better place, but this may be a lesson on where you should put the switches. A lot of times I think it's fine to put them here. Of course, that was kind of stupid what I just did. And then, well, if it's the debt switch, so let's perhaps then we're going to take the NPV of the debt service. Now we have the minus of the debt service here. No, well, this is actually the debt service. It's called debt cash flow, but it's after the debt begins repaying, then it's debt service. So then we can take this. I suppose we can, if you click on here and then press the F4 a few times, we can have it stop at least at the at the end. So let's just make sure that really worked. Alright, and this is the, oh shit. Oh shit. Okay. 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 What did I do? I took the debt balance instead of what a waste. I hate wasting your time by making such stupid errors all the time. Okay. Maybe it's good. Maybe other than seeing what an idiot I am, you can review what not to do and really see how these things work. Okay. So this looks pretty close. I don't quite understand why it's got a tiny little bit of difference here. That's with equal interest rates. I'm looking at all of these. We could even put a test now if we have equal interest rates on the two things but increasing. You can see it's still working. So is the sum product. Then we put different rates on the two facilities and they're constant. Now you can see that the sum product isn't working anymore. I didn't try to do a weighted average or anything, but this method is still computing the correct debt cash flow, and then we can put different rates with increasing things, and we still get the same thing. And we even get the same thing going all the way out, I hope. Okay. And that's makes me very happy. And then we finally can put different debt tenors in. And so now we have the two different debt issues. One ends, so there kind of should be a reduction coming up here soon. So then we have this longer debt tenor with a much smaller, but it still works. Okay, and then if we want to get the LLCR, we just take the NPV of CFADS over the loan life. Okay, and we put equal if, let's put the never-ending debt switch that I put in such a difficult place. Again, I'm repeating myself a little bit, but sometimes it's good to put. When these models have these pages of switches, I kind of hate that. I want to see the switches near the calculations I'm using them for sometimes, or right at the top like we have here. Now after we do this, we put NPV, and we go up to the forward IRR, and hopefully we'll get this right for once, and then we can go to the CFADS. Well, I better use our top one here. Okay, Shift Control right arrow. How about and then let's just put it here. Not really. I don't think that's necessary. I should know. Okay. And finally, we can compute LLCR. Now so we take this, then we'll take this divided by the opening balance. Okay. Now, okay. Okay. So if we let's kind of see how this works. So if we put equal interest rates, we get this DSCR over time. This one, I think it changed. Now I have a lot bigger changes in interest rates, so of course it's supposed to be changing more dramatically. Okay, now we're just about finished. We've got one more issue. Look at how my internet isn't on here. I can't get the internet. Okay. No, the problem here is if we compute the LLCR and we have two different debt tenors, there's no really simple explanation for this. What happens if we, you know, just a minute, this was when we had a 20-year tenor. What should we compute the, I wondered if I must have used the switch for the debt tenor for the graph, but the LLCR for the first issue would be here. The LLCR for the second issue would have a lot more space. So we really should compute the LLCRs over the same, over two different LLCRs. One with a longer debt tenor, one with a shorter debt tenor. I don't know how to get around that. There's no magic. If we compute it through here, we'll get a different LLCR for each period, for the one with the short tenor and the long tenor. I'm repeating myself and maybe saying something too obvious. But what we need to do then is really just complete this whole thing by making LLCRs for two different tenors. And I don't know how to really, I can't think of a magic way to get around this. You really would have to do it separately. And then we can put debt repayment 1. Now, why don't we just use this time, let's put a switch here for once. So this debt repayment 1, let me see, it began at the operating date. And then we can say, well, the debt tenor went from the operating date, so we can put E date, start at the operating date, and go to the debt tenor in years, and multiply that by 12. Okay, and then when we do this, okay, since it's getting finally close to the end, I'm taking my time and not being so nervous about this. Shift Control 3, of course a switch, and the switch. And always start with the top and make it greater than this. Press the F4 button and click on this. Make it less than or equal to. Click on F4. Click on this one. Okay, let's put the debt repayment 2 here. And if we want to kind of check this, let's do a COUNTIF. I hope you've seen me do this before. If not, it doesn't really matter. And then we put a comma and true. Okay, okay, they're 30, which 30 divided by 2 is 15. Works. And then we can put the debt repayment 2. Okay. You can see how slowly my computer's going. It's tired because this LLCR has been, the video has been on for so incredibly long. I can put equal E date and go to the start date, and then we go to the 20 years, and then multiply by 12. And we can press Shift F3, and we can do almost the same calculation. In fact, why don't we just press this? I don't know if this is being lazy or not. F4 a few times. Oh shit. That won't really save any time. Press F4. Drag it down, Shift Control D, Shift Control R, and we can can even copy this one down. Okay, so now we'll compute. Why don't we just test our function one more time? Now we should compute if the IRR is going to be the same for both of them. So we'll put a forward. We'll put the debt service in the total. Okay, so let's just get that again. So this is a little bit of a review. If that's irritating, I'm sorry. The review is the, I suppose, you can always turn off these videos, can't you? So that's what you do. So let's get the debt service. And just below the debt service, let's put the opening balance. So we review that again. Those are the two things we're going to need to get the forward discount rate. Okay, we put a plus on the first one, and then we put a plus on the second. Okay, and then we have these two finished. Okay, and finally we can compute the forward. And I suppose this one we can put if or. We'll take the larger one of these two. Then we take the FIRR and we go up to the opening balance first and then select the whole thing. Click on this one just to be safe. Press the F4 a few times. Should really test this out so we don't have to do all this business, but Shift Control P, Shift Control R. Okay, and now we can let's put a couple of PV of CFADS for debt service 1. So we'll put CFADS debt repayments. It's not really, I don't know why I called it debt repayment 1, but whatever I did. So that's if the number 1 is true, then we take the total CFADS, and I'm going to go all the way to the cash flow statement in the cash flow waterfall to get that. And there's our graph. Okay. I don't know if you really have to do this, but let's multiply that by 1. Don't multiply by 0 like I did that one time. Okay. It's really bad. And then we'll put I suppose you should spell it right. P-A-Y. Okay, and then we can put the debt repayment 2. And do almost the same thing. And now what we'll do is just that will be different. So the debt repayment 2 will have a longer cash flow. In the early years, it will have the same. No, it'll always have an NPV bigger, larger. So again, if the second one is true, then we go up to the cash flow waterfall. Maybe I should have switched some of this off while I'm going through this, but I think it's worth it just to review. Okay, so those are the two different things. Now we can compute the NPV of C. Come on. NPV of debt repayment 1. And we'll put the NPV of debt repayment 2 just below. Okay. And debt of cash flow of CFADS. we'll do the same thing for 2. I'm really sorry about how long this is taking. I'm wasting your time a little bit. Okay, we can put it up here, equal. If it's the first one, then we put NPV. And we go up to our forward IRR, and then we take the CFADS, press the F4. That doesn't work, so shit. We have to click on this one, don't we? See, I don't do this very much. I hate pressing F4 a bunch of times. You can tell. I hope you see that. Hope you don't waste too much time doing that. And we can do the same thing if the second one, then we put NPV, and we use the same discount rate because we're going to use the same, essentially the same debt balance. Okay, but this one just has a little longer of a loan tenor. So where's our forward IRR, and then we go to the second. Okay. Here, this time I didn't press the F4 to make sure that all works. So then we press Shift Control R, and all we have to do now is to finally get the LLCR for number 1 and number 2. Oops. This didn't work. Shift Control 1. Shift Control 1. I should be louder when I say this, just in case you don't look at the shortcut there. So we have higher NPV of cash flow in number 2, and then it also extends, okay? And it switches off at the end of, in this case, at the end of the debt life. If you were computing a PLCR, I suppose you'd have to do that. The problem with the PLCR is what interest rate would you put after the end of the term, tenor, I don't know, maybe you just put the last interest rate, and then we can put LLCR 1, and just below that, LLCR 2. And we can do the same sort of thing by putting an if statement. Let's try this one. If it's this one, then let's take this divided by the opening balance, and it's the same opening balance. I would use the total opening balance, which is 137. Okay, and let's do the same thing here. Whoops, skip down one. If it's this one, then take the cash flow and divide it by opening balance. Okay, and Shift Control R, and the final thing, I'm going to just make a graph of this, make a graph of the 2 LLCRs. I'm going to use the NA function and do all of that. Oh shit. Okay, I did something wrong, but if A 144, I have to take this one. Okay, and let's suppose, instead of looking at the graph right now, which I think I'm not going to bother you with, it's not really a bother, you can always turn off the video, can you? If we put the equal interest rates, then we have the same one, and even if we have increasing interest rates, it's always the same. And even if we have different constant interest rates, it's always the same, because as long as they're both senior debt, you're covering the same senior debt. They only become different when you have a different debt tenor. Okay? Okay, I'm going to put this in. So let's put the, this will be a little different. we'll put if or these ones are true. If either one of these ones are true. Do I have to put a comma? I wonder if I could have just selected that. Both of them. Then we use the date. Otherwise, using NA and I'll close brackets. And we press Shift Control R and we make the graph. And we press F11 and it gives us not a nice graph. And we right click and we format the axis as well, that's kind of interesting. It went crazy at the end. We'll make it a date axis. We'll make this Shift Control 1. Oh, I guess I have to do I have to switch it in? Obviously not much. Let's make it a whatever. What a waste. I hate this. And we have a DSCR that ran up to 12. I'm gonna. Okay, I'll leave it on. Why not? Shift Control right arrow, Shift Control 3 to make the date. All right. Let's copy this into a chart. Okay, and if we, let's see what happens if we keep the same equal interest rates. Okay, then we have the same ones on both of them. Let's, what happens if we change the chart type? Clustered column. I guess we, what happens if we look at an area, will that be? I don't know. What do you think? This one doesn't. Can we make the columns wider? I'm going to wait. I'm going to try that myself. Okay, that's enough of the video. Enough is enough. What are we on? We're on 46 minutes of the second video. So this is, what, about more than 2 hours just on LLCR? Can you think of anything more boring in your life?